Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me again for That Man Jesus Ministry. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing our special guest this evening, and that is Denitra Townsend Gregory. She is actually going to be our guest speaker this Saturday on May 23rd. Yay! And we are so excited. She does not even understand. So I'm going to briefly introduce Denitra. She's a former social worker, and she took off her professional hat, put on her professional business hat, and she is now an image consultant and also started a coffee company called 1212 Coffee Company with her husband, Orlando. You may have recently seen her on Fox News, the local news station here. And without further ado, I will let Denitra go ahead and continue to introduce herself. I forgot to mention that she is a ordained minister as well.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about Saturday, but I'm excited to be here this evening. I was happy when you said 7 because 7 a.m. or 10 a.m. was going to be a little early for me. So 7 p.m. is perfect. But like Nancy said, I am a former social worker. I worked for the city of Detroit for almost 13 years. Mm-hmm. And then when I decided that I could not do both well, I ended up praying about leaving my full-time job and hadn't heard anything. And then one day I sat in the balcony of my former church. And it was almost like there was just an audience of myself and my pastor. And he uttered words, but all I heard was, "Now is the time." And that pierced me. Like I got chills. I knew that God was speaking directly to me, and I knew what he was speaking about. And so that was a Sunday. On Monday, I emailed my resignation letter.
Wow. I mean, talk about a quick work. That's pretty quick. It
is pretty quick. And I knew that I had to do it then, because if I didn't do it then, I would not have done it, because as a human, fear would have gripped me.
Right.
And so I did it. So my director at the time came down and he's like, is everything okay?
Did somebody die? What's wrong?
You were happy here. You do well, and I was like, no, everything is perfect, but I gotta go, basically. So I gave them 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, I was out of there. I did not give like I said, I didn't give myself time to even consider the what, the how, and by the way, and I don't know if I've ever said this, but I did not have a plan.
No, you didn't say that.
I did not have a plan.
You were already, in other words, you were working your business, whatever that was at the time, along with your full-time career, but you didn't really know how to make the leap, the jump from your professional career to your business. So tell us about that transition. How was that?
It was after I had demonstrated obedience. It was scary. It was scarce. But it also was very liberating. It increased my faith to the utmost. Because imagine being in your early 30s. I had just purchased a condo or a loft. So I had some financial obligations, and I did have a little nest egg, but I knew because of how even back then expensive things were, it wasn't gonna last.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'm out here.
Right.
I'm out here. And although I did have a business, I didn't have any system set in place to say, okay, today is, let's say, Monday. We do administrative work on Mondays, On Tuesdays, we do marketing. None of that was in place. So
Right.
I am like a living example of how just flowing by faith,
Right.
literally,
You're literally living by faith at that point.
literally
Mhm.
living by faith. But yeah, so I wrote my termination resignation letter, started doing my business full time. And what that looked like at that time was um me going, actually a year before I submitted my resignation letter, I went to cosmetology school. So I was doing my social work job during the day, and in the evenings, Monday through Friday, for a year and a half, I would go to cosmetology school from 5 to 9, and I
Right.
would be there. So I got my cosmetology license because I knew that I wanted to work with women from head to toe. Didn't
Mhm.
really know the capacity at the time, but hindsight and thinking back, God really did have a plan.
Mhm. You just didn't know what it was at the time.
I did not have a clue. All I knew was, I had these things inside of me that I knew that He placed inside of me. And I knew that I would need to learn about these things and not just be out here willy-nilly. And
Right.
so, in that respect, I would say that I was prepared, but the way and the path, I had no clue.
Okay, so tell us, like, you're out on Front Street now. You turned in your resignation. What was step two? How did you start working your business or start
Step
your business?
Yeah, step two, I let everybody and their mama know
Right.
that, hey, I'm here. I can work this business full time. I'm available. So what ended up happening is I started speaking a
Oh,
lot, doing public speaking before I was actually doing the
the
main thing,
cosmetology.
which was image consulting and cosmetology. I started going and speaking at these corporations, for these nonprofits, and even some churches. So it started with me speaking.
Wow. I
It's
never would have known that. You did my hair like 10 plus years ago too. I
I
don't know if you
did.
remember it, but I remember going to your loft and you doing my hair. And you're an excellent cosmetologist. Just want
Thank
to point that
you.
out.
Thank you. So I started speaking first, and that's really how I started getting clients, through my public speaking.
Mhm.
Um, and I just like dove right into the wardrobe styling. It just it's just so beautifully woven when I think about it, how God just like,
Put
just,
everything together. He put all the pieces in place.
He put them in place. So I even started doing wigs and makeup for the Detroit Opera House, and
Mhm.
later that would afford me the opportunities to work on a couple movies, some film, and to this day, I'm with the Opera House. Whenever I want to, I can
Okay.
say, "Hey, I'm available for this season." And I've even started to do work with U of M and their various film departments. So it's just opened up so many doors of just saying yes to God and not really knowing what that path would look like.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, do you still do hair today? Are you more into the public speaking, the films, the stage?
So I tell people the only hair and makeup I do is for theater
Mhm.
or for film. Um,
Okay.
I have my mom and my sister and one best friend still, because I have a little a little salon chair in the basement now, but no, I
Okay.
don't do that full time. And I might be like going ahead of myself, but I still have image consulting clients. And what I've been able to do is to even scale that business. So I only work with my regular 2, 3 clients, but they're on retainer. So
Okay.
as opposed to working with 10, 15 people, running here, running there, I've set up a system to where I have my clients longer term, or
Okay.
for the long haul for the most part. So that's how that business scale. That's how I was able to scale that business. And then seasonally, I'm able, when I want to, when I'm free, to do the film work and the theater work. So
You're pretty busy then. So tell us how you scaled from, or how did you take the leap from just cosmetology? How did you go from that into the image consulting?
actually, it was the other way around. I did image
Oh,
consulting first
okay.
after public speaking, because that's how because I would speak about image. I would
Okay.
do color analysis and presence and talk about all of these things. So I started with image consulting, and most of my clients then became my cosmetology clients. So I pretty much always had this built-in system also.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds
So
like you knew a lot of people, or like you said, when you started the cosmetology or the image consulting, you say you like told everybody and their mama, hey, I'm free, I'm available, I'm doing hair or image consulting, whatever, because you needed the clients so you could have the income.
absolutely.
So that
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
And
and
social
you
media,
worked your warm market, correct? I mean,
I
that's how a
did.
lot of people should start their business. Some people don't feel comfortable talking to friends and family, but I know for me, like growing up as an introvert, I didn't really like the stage at all. I would still prefer to be behind closed doors, but for some reason, God keeps putting me in front of other people, and He's taking me out of my comfort zone. So one of the motivational speakers I like to talk about is Denzel Washington. I've been listening to him a lot. And he talks about, in that comfortability, it keeps us stuck. And anytime God's trying to move us to another place, or we're trying to get from version A or version 1 to version 2.0 of ourselves, we're going to feel some kind of discomfort at some point.
Yeah.
It's like when that airplane takes off, there's some
Absolutely.
turbulence there.
If I'm not feeling a form of discomfort, my personality is I need to feel a little bit, just like I don't ever want to feel comfortable, because then that means that I'm not growing and I'm not stretching myself. And I'm an introvert also.
Oh, see, I never would have thought that about you. I told people that when I was in sales. They're like, yeah, Nancy, right. I'm like, no, I really am. I forced myself to talk to people because that was the only way I was going to be able to sell anything. So I had to talk.
Yeah.
I'm teaching now. I'm still talking.
Right. I do what I do well, but after I'm done doing what I do, I like my alone time. I like my quiet time. I love going out for coffee with myself. I love having coffee at home by myself. I love going to the movies by myself. And my husband is an introvert too. So
that's real interesting.
But we have very public jobs and callings. But both of us are energized when we're with our person or alone.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know what introvert or extrovert means. It's where you get your energy from. So I get my energy from being alone as well, whereas extroverts get their energy from being around, other people. They're social butterflies. And I can't deal with somebody who talks all the time. That's how my sister was. And after a while, I just shut down. It's like I just can't absorb anything else. Like I'm just overloaded.
Same. If I have a speaking engagement, like on Saturday, or a pop-up now with this coffee business, I need a couple days after that to retreat,
just to breathe,
to go back in, and to make mental observations of what
you're going to change.
What I need to change, or how I impacted someone's life and how I can continue to do that. I don't like to do something and then that just be it. Like I have to regurgitate it, and it takes time for me as an introvert.
Yeah. And you want some time for reflection because you want to know how you can master your craft so you're even better the next time you go out there and
absolutely
do the same thing.
Yeah.
So let's move forward to how you and your hubby met.
Okay,
Because you
let
said
me
it's been
close up my
almost,
computer for a second because I just
oh,
saw the light dim. So,
oh no, I have those moments all the time. You go right ahead. So we're
okay, there
taking
we
a,
go.
oh yeah, that was real quick. I was gonna say we're about to take a brief commercial break. We didn't have to do that.
How we met. So, at the time I was working at the city. I started out in HR. And so I met my husband we were doing a mass recruitment for entry level firefighters. And so he was already an officer on the Detroit Fire Department in the training section of the Detroit Fire Department. And so naturally, they would have someone from training be there to answer questions if the potential cadets, had questions before they applied or went any further. So, as a person from HR, having to do this mass recruitment, naturally he was there. And so that's how we met. We met at work, essentially. And I think this mass recruitment probably lasted it was a couple months. So we worked together for a couple months, obviously doing two different things, but we worked together. So we started off as friends, and that was it. And I think after the recruitment, we started dating, but then we broke up, and so there was like a 6 year
Wow.
separation. 6 year separation, and then we, connected again. And this time things were very different for me because I was much younger. So now, the
You're
next
more
time,
mature.
absolutely, I have a voice. I know what I want. I know what I don't want. And so I made that plain. And the rest is history.
That's awesome. That's an awesome love story. Because sometimes, maybe it just wasn't God's timing. Maybe the timing was just off. And sometimes it takes one or both individuals to grow up a little bit. So
Absolutely.
it's great that he was patient with you.
Or I was patient with him.
Or the other way around.
Or the other way around.
Or
But
both.
yes,
Both of
or
y'all might
both.
have needed to grow up a little bit, in
Absolutely.
certain areas.
Absolutely.
And then you were in your calling. You were doing what God had ordained and created you to do. So that makes a difference as well.
Yeah. And so by the time we had come back together and started, considering marriage, I had what I had, in terms of being very clear about what work I was going to do, whether that was naturally or spiritually. And he was very clear about what the work was that God had for him to do as well. So we both individually were really clear about what it is that we were setting forth to do. So
Okay, well, tell us about 1212 Coffee Company.
So, if you know a little bit about me, you know that I am a coffee lover.
I actually did not know that until I watched your Fox TV interview.
Yeah, I'm a coffee lover. I'm a coffee snob. And so and I won't say anything about your Tim Hortons. You're probably drinking tea though.
It is tea.
Yeah.
Right here. I got the little tea bag right here. So I did tell you I wanted to support your coffee business. So you said you're going to bring me a little sample on Saturday and just let me know how much that is, and I'll take care of that.
Yeah. So the coffee company. So actually, and here's another beautiful thing about God. I was working a show at the Detroit Opera House simultaneously while I was getting ready to do my Coffee and Style socials. So it's a style themed social. Once a month, we would go to a third wave or like a small house coffee shop. And for instance, the theme would be, let's say it was in February, so we did Black History. So our theme was Wakanda. So we would dress up in theme and just have a social over coffee. And I did this for 5 months. But before I actually started doing the coffee socials, I started hinting around it on social media. And so I walk into the opera house, and one of my colleagues, she's like, what's this I'm seeing about coffee? And I said, and before I could answer her, she said, are you starting a coffee brand? And when she said that, Nancy, I said, like, it took my breath away. Because I always knew that I wanted to do something in the coffee space, but never would I have imagined to have my own coffee brand. And so when she said that, I said, what did you say? And she said, you're starting your own coffee brand, right? And I was like, yes. Yes.
I love that.
And I was saying yes to her, but essentially, like, I had chills and everything. I was saying yes to God. And she goes, she was like, I thought that's what you were doing anyway. And I said, well, I wasn't, but man, you just lit a fire in me, and I couldn't let this thing go. And so that evening I came home, and my husband and we talked, and I said, it's time for us to start a coffee brand. I didn't know how this would look. Of course, my husband is not an entrepreneur. Well, he wasn't. And so we didn't know how this would look. So we prayed about it, and I started doing research and talking to some of my coffee friends that are in the business. And apparently this was like an easy thing to do. Easy as
quotation marks, because it's never easy.
quotation
marks and a couple explanation points.
Yeah.
Because if it was that easy, everybody be doing it.
Everybody would be doing it. But it was easy as it relates to us being very passionate about coffee, about good coffee, about the origins, about third wave coffee versus the big house coffees. And we really wanted to go to our roots, which is obviously Africa. And so we wanted to start with an African being, but didn't know like which African being. But here we are doing this research and, doing our due diligence. We ended up at the Coffee Fest in Portland, Oregon last year, and met this beautiful couple. The wife is from Kenya and the husband is from Liberia. Go figure. The only 4 Black people at the Coffee Fest.
Wow. Okay. Look at that.
And the wife ended up just walking up to me and saying, hey, what do you do? Da, 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 da. And she's like, actually, I grew up on a coffee farm.
Wow.
And my husband did too. And so she's like, well, we want to work with you all. So we started courting them and talking to them about what it might look like. And we ended up not working with them, but they introduced us to this Ugandan coffee bean.
Wow.
And so we ended up securing an importer and to import our beans over. And then we courted 2 local roasters that ended up not working out. And just here's another God moment. I was at the Detroit Library at a Coffee 101 workshop, And this brilliant gentleman who was teaching about coffee, and I could just see his passion, and he was just really like into like nerding out, and like I nerd out with coffee. And so I was like, oh. And I simply sent him an email, and I was like, I loved your workshop, and I did not know that he was a roaster. Didn't know, had no clue. I was just emailing him to let him know how much I enjoyed his workshop. And so he's like, and I'm telling him, what we're doing and what we're trying to do. And he's casually says, if you ever need anything, just let me know. Get back from the coffee fest and started talking to, our friends that we met. And so that didn't work out for them to import over to us. But we had been talking to, this person who did the workshop. And so we had a meeting with him, and he was like, I can get your coffee imported and it can come to my roastery and I can roast your beans for you. Let's set up this contract. Let's get going, because we told him when we wanted to launch, which is another story within itself. We launched on December 12th, which is 12/12. Which is our wedding anniversary. So, we have these stories. So that's essentially how we got started. I loved coffee. My husband has grown to love coffee. We like good coffee. We think that it's important that you know where your coffee comes from, how they're treating it, if they're treating it, and to get clean, organic coffee. That's actually good for you, if you can have caffeine. And so that's what we're doing. We're building a brand. We're building a coffee brand and a lifestyle brand. So I don't know if I could go on and on about this, but
I love it. I love it. So as you know, I started drinking coffee with the Keurig at work, but I honestly, I grew up as a tea lover because my mom loved tea. So I know you talked about like the slow roast. Is that similar to like a tea seeping in the leaves with the whatever that the strainer? Is it kind of like a similar flavor that it just gets a stronger flavor?
Roast?
Yes, if you can kind of explain that process with the whole beans. I'm just trying to get it a feel of tell me what the difference is between me getting coffee from 12/12 and versus Starbucks or Tim Hortons.
Okay, first and foremost, we know where it comes from. Like, we have relationship with the farm. We have relationship with the importer. We know that they treat their workers fairly. We know that this is a family ran farm and there's no like slave, anything like this going on. That's the first thing.
I love that. That's a good start.
With a big box. And anybody can do their own research in terms of, how they may or may not be ethically doing things. I won't speak to that, but I will speak to how we are doing things. So that's the first part. The second part is we only offer whole beans. We don't offer pre-ground coffee because we believe that your coffee you should experience as an experience and not just a routine. And so we love for people to adapt rituals around slower living versus getting coffee to be more productive or getting that caffeine fix. We think that, coffee deserves more than that, and people deserve more than that. People actually do deserve to slow down. And so we give people permission to slow down. And so what that looks like with whole beans is you actually start the process of creating something that you're going to enjoy versus consuming something. So with your whole bean, you naturally have to ground it in order to get your coffee. So we like to say that we curate the experience, but you get to control how you actually will consume it. With pre-ground coffee, you really only can experience it one way, which is drip. With whole beans, you get to ground it however you want to grind it for over, French press, drip, AeroPress, like the numerous ways in which you can brew coffee. So we want you to control the experience while we curate the love that happens over this cup of coffee. That's where the slower living comes in. The next thing is we believe that coffee should be this beautiful, slow ritual versus routine. So routine, we do something out of habit because, this is just something that we do. With a ritual, we have intention behind it. And so if you are intending to start your day slow, and slow is not bad. If you start it with intention, you can have a great day, whether that's over prayer, obviously prayer first, but then you set the tone for your day. I love a good slow morning. I don't bother my slow morning. Don't call me before 9 a.m. These are the things that, I put in place to support my mental health, and self-care. But we just think that coffee is a beautiful bridge for connection, communication, and essentially love. And so that's our story. And that's how it started. After we got married, went to a coffee house to have coffee. I was in my wedding gown. He was in his tux, to connect, to see how we were doing before we went to the reception. So
I love that story and the symbolism that you all started the company on the day of your wedding anniversary. It's just such a beautiful story. And I think that gives a lot of single people hope that there is someone out there for everyone who does want a partner. And I love the fact that you all came together like on one accord to say, hey, we're going to do this together, instead of one partner feeling like they're competing with the other partner. Because like you said, both of your careers don't really necessarily have anything to do with coffee, but that love and affection that you had for the same thing kind of brought you even closer together. And now you two have something that you can work on together, which I'm sure is going to help strengthen the relationship as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to be quite frank, coffee does relate to what we do. We're people connectors. He speaks, he connects, and so coffee is just that bridge. It makes it easier when you think about it. I mean, a lot of people don't think about like even how they hold a mug. That's comfort for them. And so a lot of times, and let's just go back for a minute and talk about the coffee dates. A lot of people want a steak dinner first. They want to go to the movies first. You're never going to be able to connect, genuinely, unless you talk to one another, unless you connect. And so coffee dates, we're all about that. We're actually getting ready to start a campaign around that in a couple of weeks. So yeah.
Yeah, I can remember some of those coffee dates because it's like a low commitment, low cost. And it's like, if you don't kind of find that connection, I say just cut it off quick. Like, don't go any deeper into it. There should never be a second date if you didn't really connect that much on the first date. So that's just my advice, unless you just both had a bad day or something. But yeah, you kind of know if that connection is going to be there. And I think that's the best relationship, is to start out as friends first anyway. And then like, if you're going out for coffee as friends, there's like no strings attached, and then, you go out for coffee one day, it's like if you're co-workers or something, you can go to work the next day and like, there's no guilt, no remorse, none of that, because as you're just going out and getting to know the person.
I have stronger feelings about this, but I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but a coffee date essentially it means a lot. It is significant to me. It's time, and even, let's say, even if the connection doesn't happen romantically, it could be the bridge to a long time friendship, a business relationship, a contract, even, or just someone to talk about how you're feeling today, to genuinely listen to the other person. It requires that. It requires a good deal of communication skills. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not like, it's still time invested. It's just more of a connection
Absolutely.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, time is money too. I guess I'm thinking about it more from a male perspective because one of the complaints that I hear about single men dating now is like a lot of women's expectations are so high, and that shows how, in their minds, how much they care for the woman by how much they spend. And I don't always feel like that's a
Right.
direct correlation. So that's
Yeah.
why I said it's like a low cost. But quality time is very expensive.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
true.
totally get what you're saying from that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you all thinking about brick and mortar, or where can we buy your coffee from at this point?
Sure. So we aren't thinking of getting a coffee shop. But we are online, and so 60% of our business is still online. It's 1212coffeeco.com. But we are also have a couple stockists. So we're in redesign and restoration, which is a beautiful home decor and interior design firm or studio, which, the connection is just so beautiful. Like, people enjoy coffee. We want people to enjoy coffee in their homes, and so this is a home interior design, studio, so the connection is there. And so we've been doing really well there. We have residency there every Wednesday. So people can come and meet one of us, and if they have questions, we're there to answer them. We generally have coffee brewed that day, as like, I'm not making coffee all day. So, if you get there in the morning, but so Wednesdays is our residency there. And then we're in an Airbnb. One of our other, someone I have, worked with in the image consulting styling world. Now, they're into property, or a real estate development. And so they have an Airbnb. And so we're in their Airbnb. We're in a couple of weeks going to be at a beautiful corner. It's called Corner Market. It's a redeveloped building in Detroit. Be absolutely beautiful. And it is essentially what it is, a corner market where you get your essentials. So we'll be there. And so we are at a quest to partner with slower living, boutique-esque type of places that that align with our convictions and our beliefs in terms of doing things ethically and doing things sustainably.
Gotcha. So as we're wrapping up, I did look at a couple of your Facebook videos where you were like in vintage shops and you were promoting materials. Can you talk about that a little bit more? There was like a chest that you had pulled out some drawers to, and you were talking about different ways that you could use that chest or dresser. And so I caught just a couple of moments of it, but I just wanted to know if you could elaborate on that, because I'm trying to figure out if you wanted to do like a variety show or what you want to do with that.
It essentially is what I stated in the video is Denitra's picks, or I think it's according to Denitra. It's a part of my image consulting work, which, I mean, we all know that style transcends into your home, and your home transcends into how you present yourself publicly. So between home design, home decor stores, and clothing boutiques, I initially I set out to do it once a month. My schedule hasn't allowed me to do that. So when I have time, when it's fun for me to do, is when I visit, let's say, my favorite store or someplace that I like, and just highlight their business in one piece, which is, Denitra's picks of something that I love, and showcase that and highlight that and talk about the different ways, because I'm all about versatility in fashion and home decor and all the things. To talk about the different ways that you can wear it and or use this item.
I love that. I didn't realize that you did interior design as well, which I love because I love interior design too. I never really went to school formally for it, but I have a huge interest in that. And I just kind of wanted to wrap up because we're kind of winding down to the last few minutes. I love how you keep talking about time, how you have a routine. It sounds like in the morning with your husband. I would say, started like a real regimen, a daily routine within the last couple of years from all of the motivational speaking I've been listening to. So I have to be at work by 7:30 on a good day because I'm a teacher. So we have to be at work early. So my morning starts around 5 a.m., between 5 and 5:15. Have my devotion time. I make my little green smoothie, exercise, hop in the shower, get dressed and get ready for work. So that has just having that time to take for yourself in the morning, that has like brought me so far. And then you can also use that time to work on your business. Well, I ramped it up this year, I would say just recently within the last few months, with an evening routine too, because just like it takes me time to start getting going in the morning. I need to like have time to depress and like reflect and all that in the evening too. I can't just keep working and then just hop in the bed and go to bed. Like
Right.
I need some time to wind down as well. So one of the things that entrepreneurship allows you to do is you're in total control of your time. You're not controlled by a clock, and you're not exchanging, hours for an hourly salary. So I love that about that. And do you want to touch on that a little bit for a couple minutes as well? And then unfortunately, I got to talk about the downside. Like we talked about with the U.S. labor statistics, how a lot of businesses go out of business within 5 to 10 years if they make it past that first year. So I just want to know if you can wrap up with that.
Yes. So my ADHD brain is like, okay, what do I do first? Okay, so the first thing is, I don't embrace a routine. I embrace rituals, because rituals are intentionality. So we can have a routine all we want, and we can, just like people go to church every single Sunday, right? If it's a routine, they go out of habit. If it's a ritual, they go with a purpose. So that's what I like to say that I have. We have a ritual. And so that part of it, just to briefly, so my husband and I, we make sure every Sunday, because that's generally the day that we get up at the same time. Neither of us are working. And so we can get up at the same time. We can pray together. We can have breakfast. I take pride in cooking Sunday breakfast, so we can sit at the table and have coffee, have our 12-12 coffee, and just talk about our week and talk about what's our next venture, So that's, for me, the difference in ritual versus routine. And then the second thing is, for me, why businesses fail is the lack of planning. And I mean like business planning. Like, do you know your numbers? Do you have an accountant? Can you answer like where every penny is going? Or are you just like aimlessly shooting, And the second thing is, quite honestly, people just don't stay long enough. Like they don't, if the things aren't working out in a year, and I will say that some people aren't privileged to stay long enough, but if you are privileged to be able to stay and stick this thing out a little bit longer, it almost always ends up working out.
I love what you said about that. And I think one of the things you said earlier in the interview is that you didn't have your systems in place, but obviously you got your systems in place very quickly. And I would recommend anybody taking that leap of faith, going from a business professional or, in a professional career to a full-time business career, to get your systems together, your ducks in a row before you take that leap of faith.
Absolutely.
Yep. So that's all the time we have. Tim Hortons is actually kicking me out. So perfect timing. I will make sure for our next interview that I'm not in a tea shop or coffee shop. So that was just ironic that it happened.
Nobody knew that.
Well, thank you so much, Denitra. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show tonight. And we are so looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. I'm going to send this out, the link to everyone who has RSVP'd and work on getting those last few guests there. And I'm totally excited. I will see you Saturday, 9 a.m. Right. Feel free to bring Gregory as well, because Reggie will be with me. So
okay. He won't be able to make it, but he'll be with me.
Okay. In spirit.
Absolutely. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Denitra. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.